Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Sky, how are you?
I am fabulous.
Are you ready for this podcast tonight, for this episode?
Always ready. I stay ready. Like a gangster, I'm always ready.
We are the Poly Pimps, bringing you poly conversations on this fine July 5th.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
I don't know why my
I'm
laptop is
excited.
showing.
I'm excited. Welcome to the Shizzo.
Welcome, welcome,
This is
everybody.
Sky Juice and
Meet the
Mitchell.
Charles.
Oh, you're this
Woo!
way. It's funny because it's mirrored. It's opposite.
Ah! Yeah, because you go with the
If I
other
go
way. I'm
this
like,
way, I'm pointing at you, but on screen, I'm pointing the other way. So
exactly.
opposite.
We are happy to be here. It's been 2 weeks. We've missed you guys. We definitely miss the conversations when we're not here because, all we talk about is Polly.
Yeah.
Nah, not true.
Do you
Well,
do you feel like you're a little bit obsessed with polyamory? Because sometimes I give myself a headache thinking about it.
I don't know that I'm obsessed, but I might be borderline because I I don't know. It's such an amazing life. The just the freedom to pretty much be who you are without having to worry about hiding parts of yourself or anything like that. I love that freedom. So I might be a little bit obsessed about it because I feel like I talk to everybody about polyamory and it's going to come up in a conversation for
It's gonna
sure.
come up with me too. I think we have that in common, and I think that's why this has happened because it was funny. Like, remember that day I called you? It was funny because I was just like having this poly conversation with myself, and I was like, who can I talk to about this? Because most of the people who I talk to about this, they're not in it. They're just like, a lot of times they don't have an answer. They don't have an answer to questions. They're just like, well, I don't know. And so that day when I called you, I was like, I need someone who is living the life, gets it, understands what I'm thinking. That was that day. That was a breakthrough.
I think I was in Chattanooga at the time,
Yeah.
enjoying life as usual
Yeah. So
against other people's, you know,
I think
liking.
tonight's conversation is very much on time.
Yes,
Hmm.
definitely. I am excited to talk about it. Sisters, own your sexual desires.
Yeah.
Desires. Do we even talk about what we desire as women? You know?
Well, to me it's a heavy thought because um society treats us there's so much stuff in society that makes us have to behave a certain way and have to there's just a lot. There's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have layers and layers of thoughts about this period.
Right. Yeah,
So
I feel like if I ask a few women right now, what are your desires? I bet you the majority of them will answer based on what they feel they should say, not on their true desires.
right.
I've met and I've talked to many women who even okay, let's take even hair as a basic thing. Basic, very basic. Um a lot of times if the conversation goes, well, what I really want is this. I would like to try this style, this color, but my husband, but my boyfriend won't like it, doesn't like it, or even my children, they won't like it. They want to please so much, and I have especially one client. I have this whole dilemma about it. Every single time she sits in my chair, she knows what works for her, what looks amazing on her, and what's easy for her, because she needs to look great, but she doesn't have the time because she has a lot of responsibilities, unfortunately, that does not allow her time for herself, obligations, family obligations. So every time she comes, we give her a style that's very easy to manage, easy to, like, 1 2 3, make it look great, like you actually came from the salon. But every time she sits in my chair, she's always torn because this kid wants her to do this, her mom wants her to do that, her husband wants her to do this. But it's like, but what do you want? She knows
Right.
what she wants, but she just wants to please all those other people that 9 times out of 10, she does not get the hairstyle that she wants, even though it's the easiest, it makes the most common sense, but she doesn't do it because she does not do what she desires. She aims to please everybody else around her but herself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like um women do that most of the time. I mean, we are constantly catering to everybody else, you know? And it's like, I was just watching a video with Trevor Noah,
I
and
love
he
him.
said, yeah, I love him. He said that men are easily live their best life. It's all good all day for them. And women have to constantly work around men living their best life. And I definitely feel that as a fact because um, my first experience having children,
Hmm.
my children's father at the time, he said to me something like, "Well, you're the mother, that's your job."
Right. Exactly.
And I was like, wrong answer. I don't know what the question was, but that was the wrong answer because I didn't do this by myself. So that whole you're the mother thing, it's your job. I rebuked that. So it left a bad taste in my mouth because it came from a place of I can go out, I can do what I want to do, I can hang, I can be free because I don't have anything to do regarding these children. Like even some of his stuff about his watching his children, like on his
Hmm.
day, like when I would go out somewhere, he was babysitting his children. And that is retarded to me in the scope of you not babysitting your own children, you're
Right.
taking care
You're
of.
doing your part.
Yeah.
You're taking care of your kids.
So, but it's just like it came from a place of where how he thought about women essentially,
Right.
and um it was finally I realized that he was misogynistic, you know, and there's so much misogyny in our culture, which goes to why this whole conversation is happening today because women aren't supposed to have a good sexual time. I mean, that's just not a thing, you know? It's
Exactly.
like, just the whole thing. When I hear we talked about this before on the podcast, is when you hear people talking about a woman's body count,
Right. Right.
when you start hearing that kind of language, it comes from a very effed up place.
Hmm.
Whereas a man could be involved with 2,000 women in a period of 10 years or what have you. And if she's with like 10 guys in 10 years, she gave her jewels away and she's
Yeah,
in.
she has no respect for herself.
And I'm just like, that kind of thinking is so it's I don't know. It's like I feel like when I hear people talking like that, mostly men, and I'm not hating on men. I know that there are caliber of men that are more open and understanding, but when I hear that from men, especially guys I know,
Hmm.
I always feel like an alien from another planet. I'm like, why
Right.
do I not connect with this? And then the worst part is when I hear women talking like this. I
It's the
remember
saddest part. It's not even
that is
worse.
the
Like,
saddest
it's
part.
the
And I heard a
saddest
girl
part.
For real. I heard a girl at my job saying something about, oh, well, that's why women can't be involved with more than one guy because, you know, in her internal organs can
Uh,
some blah blah blah. It went into like Charlie Brown at that point because it's like because as soon as she started trying to scientifically explain some bullshit about the vagina and more than one person, the pH level of the blah blah blah.
right.
I was like, okay, it's time for me to not hear what she's saying because I know it's trash.
Well, yesterday I was actually scrolling on Facebook last night, and then this quick little video came up about a Haitian pastor just preaching about, oh, this women basically go. Basically, he was just talking about women masturbating, how wrong it is, and I'm thinking like, sir, do you know how many men do that on a daily basis, several times a day?
Right,
Like, I'm sorry, what? Are we
right.
trying to demonize women masturbating? Like, maybe you guys should go to hell first, then we will follow you guys. But I think you should be first in line talking about that. So,
Well,
yeah,
that's part of it. I think it comes from, I do believe, and this is my opinion, that a lot of this way of thinking comes from this religious philosophy because you know if that's your guise for understanding, then jump, like, let me jump off while the train is rolling because I'm
right,
out. I'm out because it's not to me. I mean, people's spiritual basis is what it is. It is going to be what it is. So, you know, I realized that I'm not going to be part of that circle.
hmm,
I actually emailed the guy from YouTube, and he is a polygynous educator, and
who,
he's their page is called like uh original or personal relationships or great personal relationships or something. Anyway, I emailed him, see if they call back. He is married to two wives. So I would like
hmm,
to have that conversation with them or him or one or any of the group to just kind of get an idea of what their perspective is, kind of like in a general sense. But I know it would definitely conflict with my thoughts about it because I don't follow religious thought. So those aren't going to be the guidelines to my moral values,
right,
you
right.
know. So that is part of this. Like this way of living, when you're polyamorous, I know there's Christian polyamorous people though. So,
Yes,
but there are a lot of your morals and values have to be intertwined to living this way. And I know for me, I'm a free thinker and I use logic most of the time, or what I think is logical. Like I'm into astrology too, so that might not be logical to many people, but for me I
right.
like it. It's my own metaphysical vibe. But anyway, yeah, so the whole, like, if your moral compass is based on the Bible and what have you, then yeah, I guess, you know, making a woman feel like she is dirty and making her feel like she cannot have pleasure. Like it's just it has always been conflict conversation to me when women, the purity culture, a woman has to be a
Oh.
virgin until she's married, and she has to be, you know it's confusing to me. You know what I mean? Because
Well,
I'm just like, how do you enjoy it and not enjoy it? And, is it just to procreate and just sit there and lay there? Because when I was in college, I'm going to stop talking in a second because I know when I
no,
was
no,
in
you're fine.
college, my roommate was from Senegal. So a lot of the African girls would be in my room and we would be talking. And I remember having these conversations with the sisters, and it was just like literally all of us were from somewhere else. Like I was from the Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. My roommate Senegal, one of the girls was from Namibia, one was from Liberia, one was from Nigeria. So I had all like the African Caribbean connection. And I remember the girls were talking about in Africa, in their country, women were not even taught to move. If you were moving in your bed when you were with your husband, you were enjoying it a little too much. So they literally taught them to just lay there
Lay
and
there and take
be
it.
like,
Don't show enjoyment at all
don't
because this
move,
is not for your own pleasure.
don't
This is
move.
for my pleasure.
Yeah.
Like you are my toy, and pretty much
And
you should
then
not look like you're enjoying it too.
and then when the guys, the African guys came over to the US to go to college and met up with white women, African American women, etc., they wouldn't ever go back with an African woman because this is what the girls said. They
Mm-hmm.
said that because the men were like, they were just enamored by these women who were more into sex than they were, than their native women were. So I
And
was
I
pretty
wonder why the native women were not into sex.
taught. They were taught. They
You
were
know,
taught to just,
like
procreate.
they're gonna choose what the opposite is of what they taught women to be. But it's
Exactly.
always like that, you know.
Exactly.
And talking about the whole purity culture, I mean, in a lot of those cultures, to them, uh, the biggest thing is sex with penis and vagina kind of sex, right? So a lot of girls from those cultures, they end up doing other sexual acts
Oh yeah.
because typically what do those cultures check for the hymen to be broken or whatever,
Hmm.
however they check that,
Hmm.
right? So whenever that happens, that girl is deemed unclean. So they just pretty much resulted in other sexual acts to satisfy their
Oh
desires,
yeah, I heard that
without
for
their
many
families
years.
finding out.
I heard that for many years. They were saying that these girls in high school were still virgins, but they were hobnobbing, and I was like, what in the heck
Hmm.
is going on here? Like,
But yeah,
that's
that's what
to me,
they
that's advanced for that age. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
but that's what they push those people to do because it's like, oh, so you're gonna kill me if you find out I have vaginal sex, so I'm gonna have other kinds of sex that you
Right.
cannot trace, even though technically they cannot trace that. But it was the whole being a virgin thing,
Right.
and stuff like that, which is sad. And I mean, I still hear certain things in different cultures that I'm kind of like, boy, I am glad I live here. And I'm glad there are certain things that I am not subject to because a lot of the things that are happening in the world outside of us, it's inhumane, you know?
Mm.
So I can't even imagine living in those cultures where I don't have a
Yes.
voice.
Yes. What is it called? Female genital mutilation.
Mutilation,
And
yes.
these folks are so brainwashed into believing that, women, you know, women are actually doing the surgery on their own younger women to cut
Hmm.
their clitoris out.
Right.
That is just, it just is so upsetting.
Just thinking about it, it
It's
makes
not
me
about.
cringe. And it's like, oh my God, how can you do that to
Right,
somebody?
right.
But they are brainwashed
They're
into thinking
brainwashed.
that's the way to be, that's the way to heaven or wherever they need to go.
It's craziness
Um, yeah. So,
and dangerous and sick.
hmm.
But yeah, to me, I mean, honestly, what I could say about polyamory and the awareness that it has given me over the last, it's been a long time actually, that I have been awakened to this way of living and loving. It's been a long time. I think it goes back about 2008, probably before Facebook, actually. So
Hmm.
I got introduced to Facebook in about 2007. So it was right before that, maybe 2006, 2007, around that time. So that's when I became aware of it. And from then till now, I've been studying and reading and understanding and living and trying. And I just realized, like, I'm so grateful, like, that I've been awakened to this way of living, because it just makes so much more sense. And I'm just so sad. That's kind of like why having a podcast is so important. I mean, we might have a small podcast and a few people are going to get it, but honestly, one day it's going to blow up and people are going to be like, yeah, because do I sound talky today?
No, you're good.
But check this out. My
Just
connection is
remember,
really
you
good.
missed the last one almost, so you're
Yeah,
making
that's
up
true.
today.
You see, my connection is good, right?
It is great today.
Oh, good. Well, I guess that was the problem. But anyway, so we were talking at work. Of course, I bring up polyamory and all the men I love. And my coworkers were like, that's cool. I like that. I like that they know each other. I like that they're familiar with what's going on in your life, and that they, and one of them said, she said, that's exactly how I want to live. She said, that's how I want to live. And you
Mhm.
see, I think that's the case for a lot of people. I think you and I happen to be the bold ones. And I think the people who really understand this lifestyle, no, that's not true. The people who want to live this way is a far greater number than the people who are living this way.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Hmm.
Because I think the biggest factor that happens to most people is the how. Like, how do
Hmm.
you have multiple partners? How does your partner, your husband or your wife or whatever, how are they okay with you being with somebody else?
Right.
I mean, but then they think about it and they say, that sounds really cool. I like it, but I don't think I can do it,
Right.
because just
And,
the mind thought about it is just like, it's just, they just can't process it. But in their mind, it makes sense. Like, they
right.
want that freedom. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
I actually recently had this male client. He was a new client. First time I'm doing his hair. And um of course, the first time I met him, he came in for a consultation because the service that he wanted wasn't just a haircut. So typically, I like to set up a consultation so I have an idea what you're wanting, making sure we're allowing enough time because I work by appointments only. So, of course, he's inquiring about my status, like, oh, how they come at you, like, oh, your husband or whatever. I said, I don't have a husband. He's like, oh, you have a boyfriend? I said, I have partners. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I'm polyamorous. He's like, oh, I've heard of that, like, what's that like? And as he started talking, another client came in for her appointment. So I said, catch my podcast. I think it was the night that we were going to have the last podcast. I said, just catch it. You'll have an idea. And we have several episodes that could give you a little insight on what it is. So then finally he comes for his appointment. He's like, yeah, I watched it. It's very interesting. I think it's fascinating. But, as a man, I definitely would love that. But I don't know about my woman. So, it's like, which brings me to this point, I had come across Carl Stevens on Instagram. I'm
Who
gonna try.
happens to be Kenya Stevens' husband, first husband.
Yes. Um, so I'm gonna bring it up so people can read it themselves because it is small writing. Um,
You
I
can, if you're able to take it, yeah. And
okay. I don't know if everybody can see it. So basically, it says monogamous culture, capitalism, and religion have men believing a woman's value is based on her sexual history. So I would like for us to go through this paragraph little by little. Let's take
oh,
one line
yes.
and talk about it first because there are so many different aspects that he brings up. I'm like, please, thank you for summarizing this because this is a great way to put it. All the stuff, all the thoughts that are going in my mind. So yes, like we were saying, culture, capitalism, and religion have men believing a woman's value is based on her sexual history. And like we talked about not the last time, but a podcast, one of the episode when we were talking about body count. How will you know unless a woman actually tells you? Like people try to act like, the woman has no value once she has this many number of people and that have slept with her, that she slept with, and stuff like that. But I'm like, sir, you would not even know that somebody was in there last night if she didn't tell you. So it's a courtesy. Don't
In
act like,
there.
don't be a jerk.
Y'all just got to get on
And
the calendar.
huh?
No, it's just a running joke with me. Just like get on the calendar.
Yes, absolutely. And that's how it is. So don't act all, high and mighty, like trying to minimize a woman's value because she tells you how many men she has slept with. Because for all she cares, she could have been like, oh, I've only slept with two men, or you my first, or whatever. They don't appreciate honesty because they've been conditioned
Right.
to think. I don't know what you have to say about that.
I agree. The part that I would probably now I gotta go research capitalism because I think that is deep. Um, but monogamous culture, of course, is created. Monogamy was created for men. In fact, what did I read a while ago? I wish I kept my sources. I just read all this information and I just absorb it. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, monogamy was created by what we call beta men.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, the alpha man in our society is like what I also call like the hunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hunk has no problem getting all the women,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that
Mm-hmm.
leaves the beta men without.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, and they is relative, but they say
Right.
that monogamy was created by the beta men so that they can have someone, and they make it a stigma to go out anywhere else. Because if you really look at it, right, the hunk is going to have 5, 10 women, as many women. He's going to have the harem of women.
Mm-hmm.
And in our society, the people who I look at, the men that I look at, because a lot of guys say I'm an alpha man. Most of
Mm-hmm.
them are not alpha men. The alpha
Mm-hmm.
men are the real kings of our society, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have presence, they have status, and they just have this vibe. They have this energy, and a lot of times they just happen to have money too,
Mm-hmm.
because that's in our modern age, that's also what brings what's called royalty, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can't have multiple women and you can't, they're not buying you anything. I mean, they should be, but that you have to be giving, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So monogamy, I read, and at some point in our history was created and kind of formalized by beta men being like, okay, well, he's got all the ladies and we're sitting here with this little one girl over here. Capitalism now, that's a deeper, I would love to hear someone break that down for me because I'm sure I'm going to be impressed. Religion, we
Mm-hmm.
already know, is probably the basis of where this comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
The deep
but
roots of it.
yeah, but evaluating a woman based on her sexual history,
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, the whole alpha and beta and all that stuff, I'm still looking into that. I still haven't really decided how I feel about the whole titles and stuff like that, but I definitely understand different energies,
I
so.
actually, I actually don't follow that. I used to. I
Hmm.
used to really look at guys and say, "Oh, I am more attracted to alpha men,"
Hmm.
but quote unquote alpha men. But then I come to realize that alpha men is really not a thing. It's not a thing. It's just not to me. Not the way it's not a thing to me. I
Right.
actually, yeah, I don't follow that. I don't
Right.
follow that at all. But I get when people say that, I understand what they're saying.
Right.
So yeah.
So then the next part is religion basically says sex is a sin, that women are property. So true. Sex is a sin. They keep talking about sex before marriage and things like that. I want to know what the percentage of people who actually get married, the people that are in church, I'm not even talking of the people outside of church, but the people inside of church who get married and truly never had any kind of sexual encounter. I'm talking like TDs, fellatio, other kinds, touching, because all that is part of sex. Where does sex start? That's another question. That's we can like talk about that a little bit later. Where does sex start? But and but again, every time we refer to sex, it's the only thing that people can think of is penis and vagina. That's pretty much what counts as sex to them. And so yeah, they put it as a sin. So yes, you are going to hell if you believe in hell, right? So now you're afraid.
Mm.
And as a woman, you're like, oh, I don't want to go to hell. I can't have sex before marriage, or I can't have sex at all. Oh, I'm the prize. I'm saving myself for whatever. And so, and then also, women have always been considered properties since the ancient Bible time,
Mhm.
and till this day, I feel like most people who call themselves religious, they still see women as property. It's theirs. It's their woman. Nobody, I can't see my woman do that. I don't allow my woman to do this. I don't allow my woman to do that. My woman, my this, my that. So they're all property. So I don't know what you got to say.
I think that it just different things come to mind. One of them is every time I had a friend, this goes way back to like high school. Every time I had a friend and she got a boyfriend, I lost her as a friend because
Right.
she got so wrapped up into this guy that you she would never be available. Like we could never hang. And when they would break up or be fighting, that's when she'd call me and then she'd be
Right.
like, "Hey, let's do something." And I'm like, "Bitch, you forgot who the hell I was for like 3 months now, and now you want to call me up because you're having beef. But why you forget your friends? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
And many times, the partner will request from their partner, I don't want you talking to the opposite sex.
oh, I've gotten that. I've had that.
Oh, I've had that
I've had that.
in my
I've had that.
life.
I've
And
had
then I started realizing my friends list was shrinking for no reason when nobody did anything to me. I did nothing to anybody, but it was shrinking. One day I was like, oh hell no, I'm not doing this anymore. So it's gonna be what it's gonna be. You can make your own decision, but I ain't shrinking my friends list anymore just for your um comfort.
insecurities.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, I
So,
had my first I guess children's father, my first partner, I guess. I
mhm.
don't know. I can't it's hard for me to call him anything.
Right. Your children's father. That's the only
There's
way.
certain nightmares we want to forget. Anyway, yeah, he was, and it's funny because I was really young. I was only like 19, and
Mhm.
I thought I was grown and what have you. And of course, he was 10 years older than me or
Mhm.
13 years older than me. Something out of control,
Mhm.
ridiculous. Like he was like 30 something when I was with him. It was crazy.
Mhm.
33 or something like that. Anyway, so here's the thing, right?
Mhm.
Part of me liked the protection of, and to this day, I always like a guy who shows up and is like protectorate of me and makes me feel like I don't have to fight for my life. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Like, I really do appreciate when guys, in essence, want to jump in front of a
Mm-hmm.
bullet. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, let's say nobody's trying to shoot at me, but
Right.
I like that energy that guys bring. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty attractive to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the opposite that is not attractive is guys that are like very wimpy and they want to run and scream and I gotta fight. And yes, I've experienced that too.
Ooh, I have never experienced
Yes.
that, luckily.
Oh yes. Oh, I've heard a man scream like,
Oh
oh,
no.
it was so disgusting to me. So yeah, so there's this thing about like a guy having presence and, you know, like my ex-husband had presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, I was more the fighter
Mm-hmm.
than he was. Like his presence was intimidating to most people because he was just super tall and just big and muscular. So
Mm-hmm.
he had presence, and I do like that in terms of, you know, no one's gonna F with me or
Mm-hmm.
him. However, I'm the one who's gonna probably start cursing people out and fighting, and that did happen, right? I just like the fact
You're
that,
like, you got my back?
like, um, but yeah, the what is very like not attractive to me, even with friends who are like, "Hey girl, what you doing tonight? You want to go to this such and such? Oh, let me see what my husband says."
Mm-hmm.
What? Never mind. I don't even
Right.
want,
Right.
like, you need permission? The hell
Right.
you need permission for?
Right.
That right there already, like, um so basically what I'm saying is I'm on the fence. Part
Right.
of me is like, you know, I never hope, I hope like with these podcasts and this stuff that we're doing, I hope no one ever says to me you're a man hater, because that is like the very opposite of what I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
love men, I love men and I love their value. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I do have some traditional values in essence where I do like men to do men things. You know, I'm not this super liberal thought where, you know, I'm going to like I don't want to do a lot of man stuff at all,
Right.
to be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Right.
I really don't. So yeah, there is an essence of value to having a man in your life. A man, two men, don't matter how many, but at least one, right?
Right. Yep.
But the fact that if I gotta ask permission to do anything, you can forget it.
Right. Exactly.
You could stop
I,
the bus right now.
I'm not a child.
Yeah,
Left that stage a long time ago.
yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't
under
like
the
that.
supervision of my parents.
Yeah,
So,
my first children's father very much had strong misogynistic values, and I think that's why I'm so turned off. He didn't want me to have male friends. He didn't want me to talk to a guy on the street. I feel like he haunted me when I was at work. He would like pop up at my job. And I was just like, I was too not like, I was too young and too not like in my own
mm-hmm.
to really confront it. I mean, the confrontation just became the end of the relationship, basically.
Right.
But, but if I confronted it earlier on, it would not have been a relationship. It would have been over. But I
Right.
didn't realize like some of that stuff. I didn't realize how toxic it was. But yeah, women as property, it's a thing. But here's the thing. There is a large percentage of women that like that feeling,
Yes.
you know,
They
and
want to belong to somebody,
Mhm.
literally in the literal sense, belong to
Right.
somebody.
They want to be taken care of. It all falls under property. It really does fall
Right.
under property because, you know, a man is investing in a woman, in her well-being, in her care. So when a woman says she wants a man to protect, provide, blah blah blah, she's also saying, I want you to own me. I want
Right.
you to own me, because if you're going to invest in me financially, physically, like a child, like if you're going to put all your of everything you have into me, you own me
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
Right.
And so and you own my sexuality, I mean, I know I've had some experience where a guy, like you're making love and stuff, and he's like, this pussy is mine. And I'd be like, yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, it's mine always and forever. And you can enjoy it at the very moment, but yeah, no. Don't think for a second then when this shit is over in 2 minutes, yeah, it's mine again. Yeah, you can.
If he makes it to two.
Yeah, like don't say stuff like that, because you're fooling yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
on
so
you.
yeah.
That's on you, because you don't own nothing here.
Right.
But yeah, but guys don't like that either, because once again, you're in this world where,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why having these poly conversations. I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he was like, well, how's your poly life going? And I was like, it's always like a shit show in most cases, but I have some good relationships around me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, what is the problem? I just can't imagine you having any problems. And I was like, are you serious here? I said, humans, let's just say humans, right? But then he said to me, you should not tell anyone you're polyamorous, because the initial conversations that you're having with these people is irrelevant. Like, get to know someone and meet them and da, da, da. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that works.
Now,
I don't think
yeah,
that works, because by the time, and most men are not going to be interested. I'd rather you not be interested in me at the door,
right.
then I get to know you. There's an attraction, there's a connection, blah, blah, blah. And like a month later, we've been talking and blah, 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 blah. And then he goes, yeah, so like, where are we going with this? It's like, well, by the way,
Yeah, I think that's crucial information, and that should be talked about from day one. First
they won't, they
conversation,
won't.
like I don't play that game. I first conversation. Guess what? I'm polyamorous. What do you know about it? That's how we're starting any kind of conversation. I don't have time to waste. I can't waste a month,
Mhm.
and also that reflects on my character. They start judging who I am because they're thinking I withheld information, which technically I did, because I feel like that's a very important piece of your life that whomever you're gonna start to engage with in the in the mindset of being more than just a friend, they need to know where you stand and how you relate romantically, sexually to people. They need to know all that. Is very important. This is not something you save for, I don't know, the fifth conversation a month, 2 months down the road. It's not right. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you either.
I actually, I actually tried that a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't work. It doesn't
Right.
work. So, yeah, I rather just, let people know from the beginning and then go from
They
there.
can
And
decide. Make your own decision. I'm
yeah,
not deciding for you.
but
So,
and that's what makes it difficult with dating polyamorously, because um I think, like we were said at the beginning of at the top of the show, I think more people want to live this way
right,
than know how to do it, or even brave enough.
right.
Like, I have a friend who's married, and he thinks that, like, this is it. This is the way we should be living, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, okay, cool. I'm glad what does your wife say?"
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's
That
like, "Well,
part.
she's open to it." I said, "Oh, okay, cool. So let me ask you a question. Can you spend the night out overnight till morning and go to work from wherever you happen to be?" And he's like, I don't know. That's going to probably cause some friction.
Mm-hmm.
in the house. And I was like, oh yeah, well y'all ain't ready. Because
Right.
the thing about it is, if you're married, if you're most people who are in poly relationships, people don't seem to realize this. Most people who are in poly relationships are not married. They
Well,
are, do you think?
I think a good portion
Well,
of
yeah.
them are. Um, but also I think it depends on on their maturity into polyamory and how healthy their relationship is as well. Because I feel like maybe a couple that's just starting in polyamory are going to have rules, you know, or you can't spend the night. You can't do this. You
Yeah.
cannot be seen in public,
Yeah, I'm good on that.
that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, personally, I don't engage with people like that.
Me either.
But a lot of people, when they're starting out, they have to establish those rules. Well, they feel like they have to
Right.
establish those rules because they're still dealing with a lot of insecurities going into a polyamorous relationship or venturing out in polyamory. So those little rules make them feel kind of like, okay, I'm secure, I'm okay with this, until it becomes unrealistic. And it's like, oh, you broke our rules. Well, those expectations are not attainable or sustainable for the in the long run.
I
So,
I agree. I think that I well, first of all, I think that most poly people who are doing it are actually not married. That's from what I've seen.
mhm,
And this is based on no statistics. This is totally an opinion.
right,
But and I really think it's super difficult to be married and want to transform your monogamous marriage into polyamorous. And a lot of people are like, well, I want to stay with my partner. I want to stay with my wife or my husband. I don't want to lose them, but I want to start dating this person over here. And our relationship isn't solid.
right,
It's going to end. You know what I
exactly.
mean? It's just going to end because it's
Hmm.
not, you already don't have a solid foundation. And then you want to invite somebody else into the mix, like
Hmm. Yep,
disaster, and
exactly.
then throw sex on top of that. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's
that's,
typically when everything just kind of falls apart. But I wanted us to finish this before,
yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
like, I definitely don't want to go over an hour today. I have so much going
I
on.
understand.
Um, so the next thing says it's an insane way of thinking because he also wants her to be super sexually skilled. And if she's not, he'll still marry her, but cheat on her with the sexually skilled woman. Isn't that the truth?
It is 100% facts, and it is the downfall of why monogamy doesn't work. Because my opinion, because for some reason someone decided that monogamy is like you're going to find your partner, you're going to fall in love with them, and they're going to satisfy the entirety of everything
Of your
in your
existence.
existence, sexually, financially. The money's going to be there, the joy, the laughter, the
Intellectually.
intellectually stimulated, all, oh god, oh by the way, all the activities that I like, you like them too.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's so sad that people, like, I have married friends that I just wish they would get divorced because
I see too unhealthy relationships, too many unhealthy relationships, but people are holding on because they see being a divorced person and happy worse than being married and unhappy. They'd rather be married and unhappy, but then be divorced and happy, or
absolutely.
single and happy.
We got some questions in the room. I don't know if you noticed, but
Oh, I was still on that screen. Let's see.
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah, because I closed it too. Hey Abdullah, I see you. He says I hear a few. Here, let me post them up top here real quick. I hear a few slippery slopes. He also says, are relationships and sex transactional? Yes, they can be.
yes.
Yes, they can be
Mm-hmm.
in most cases. And also, is the origin of the word polyamory an American word and euphemism?
It's not.
It's not?
It's not, and it's not the origin of the word polyamory is not American. It's I think it's Latin and Greek or something like that.
Oh, but
It's a combination.
it's started here, I think, but it's, I don't know. We might need
No,
to
he
look
said
that up.
the word polyamory.
Yeah, the word, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not. Um, there's another question.
The next question is, do you believe that monogamy is a myth and that polyamory is the way most people should go?
Well,
My,
if you ask
my
Sky,
short answer is yes. Yes and
no.
yes.
I mean, for me, I think monogamy is valid, right? For the people who are okay restricting themselves, right? Who are okay settling for what they believe are the most important and they can pass on the rest, right? It's kind of like when you order a dish, right? You have you have the fillet, you have mashed potatoes, you have asparagus, and
Side
let's
chicken.
say, yeah, something like that, right? You don't like asparagus, you don't really like mashed potatoes, but you can tolerate mashed potatoes, but you love filet. But there are no other, you feel like there are no other options since you already have that dish in front of you. That's what you feel like you must eat. So you enjoy your filet and you're like, I'll take a couple bites of the mashed potatoes, but the asparagus, I the veg since you're supposed to have your vegetables too, but you don't like asparagus, you're like, well, I can take it or leave it. I don't need it, right? So, um, I think polyamory is the way of life, is a better way of life, just because of the freedom that it brings. It allows you to live a full life sexually, intellectually, romantically, any kind of Lee. You get to really live a full life because let's say for example my husband or boyfriend is not really into I don't know, roller skating, right? And I love to roller skate. I don't have to feel guilty because I connect with this other guy who loves roller skating and we have such a great time together and we grew a bond, we're close together and we go do this activity and enjoy each other's company, enjoy other things. Like in the monogamous world, I should not even engage like that with somebody other than my partner or whatever that person is to me. So monogamy teaches us that it's wrong to even develop some kind of feelings towards that person. That kind of closeness should not be with anybody else but your mate.
Well,
Um,
well, the part that brings me back to the topic of tonight with women owning your sexual desires is the sad reality is some women have never been sexually satisfied, but
that part,
they will be married for 25, 30, 40, 50 years till death do us part, and they'll have maybe one or none or very few orgasms. They don't
and
really,
most of the time they have to provide that orgasm to themselves. Let's not forget
craziness.
about that.
And that to me, you know, you might find the perfect guy. You might find that partner that you connect with, like, right? That doesn't mean that you are sexually compatible with him. And
Right.
that's why polyamorous people exist, because you can meet that person that gets your heart, you love them, soulmate. Soulmate doesn't mean that all those things align, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel sorry. I feel sorry for women who opt for this monogamous life and they're with the partner and they're not getting their rocks are not being kicked all over the place. Like, I just feel bad for women who settle for the one guy. You know what I'm saying? I feel like because the truth is there could, yeah, just the thought of it is just, it just bothers me, because that's why I think polyamory is better. um And you know what? For some people, they don't agree. So that's reality.
Eh,
I don't think monogamy is a myth. It is not a myth. It is a viable love style. It's not a myth.
exactly.
It is a viable love style, and of course, the majority of people believe in monogamy, right?
They
But
default
the
into
sad
monogamy.
reality is a large percentage of people live monogamously, but deep down
Are very
inside, like
unhappy,
here's the thing about
unsatisfied.
polyamory that makes it so amazing is telling the partner that you love till death do us part, telling your partner who you are sharing your life with, right? Like they are your emergency contact.
Hmm.
Can you imagine the fact that most people cannot tell their emergency contact that they met somebody and they were just had just this great day talking to someone at work and they had all these cool laughs, like
Even if
because
it was just a simple friendship, if it's the
right,
opposite sex, then questions start coming up like,
right,
oh, why,
right.
why,
It just
why are you so
becomes
excited about this person?
right, right. So I don't believe that's freedom. I think the bigger part of polyamory that makes polyamory attractive to me is I have freedom. And if I don't have freedom, I'm not interested. So,
Exactly.
and I could have one sexual partner. I could do whatever I want, but as
Right.
long as I'm free. And that's how I look at it. So, if you are in your marriage, relationship, or you're interested or what have you, test what freedom looks like to you. Maybe people don't want to be free. Maybe, that's why religion is such a thing because people want to be under the guise of rules and regulations. But that's
Having the fear of losing something
right,
usually makes them feel like their life is worth living, right? Because
right.
God says, if you don't do this, I will punish you.
And
The only
also,
time I really accept the punishment is like, you will get spanked. Okay, all right, I will misbehave in that case. But
exactly.
um, we
And
have another
also ask,
question.
so you believe monogamy is restrictive?
Very,
Um,
100%. I mean, yes, it's very restrictive. You can't, most of the time, I don't want to say all, but most of the time, you can't have friends of the opposite sex, right? And if you have friends of the opposite sex, you can only get so close to them. You're not allowed to do certain things with them. You're not allowed to share certain feelings with them. Yes, it's very restrictive. You can only have sex with your chosen partner. Yes, it's very restrictive. I mean, there's like so much. It's a long list of restrictions that monogamy
right.
has. And it's
Well,
okay if that's what somebody chooses, but a lot of times we find that people who are in monogamous relationship, they are not even fully happy, fully satisfied, but they're pretending. Again, the desires, we suppress our desires just to fold into what society wants us to be.
right, right. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe monogamy is restrictive, and I just feel bad. Like, I think a lot of people, as soon as they hear polyamory, they think, oh, you're a
Free
freak
for all.
show. They think that, polyamorous people are just having orgies every single day.
Right.
And
I would love that at some point.
I don't need
Yeah,
that.
I'm kidding
I'm
because
not,
I don't
I'm
need that
not,
kind of energy.
I'm
But
not that type of person. But what I'm saying is what polyamory gives me is freedom, right? And if it's not
mhm,
free, it's not meant to be. And that's the way I look at it. So,
exactly,
um, yeah,
I value my freedom.
totally. Well,
Mark Jean Pierre
let's
says
finish the,
yes. Yes,
yeah,
it's very restrictive. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let's go back to that. So the last part is, oh yeah. So we talked about, he wants a skilled woman in bed, but he doesn't, want her woman, like if she can't satisfy his needs in bed, he's gonna go find him another woman who can satisfy. But however, he will talk bad about that woman because she is too much of a hoe to be his wife. So it's always like such a contradiction in that world of monogamy. And then it says the sad part is women buy into this way of thinking and perpetuate it unto their sons and daughters, and the cycle repeats. It's mental illness. 100% agree. Because I have seen so many women, I'm talking like so many women who are talking bad about a woman's freedom or choice to be free in her sexuality, a woman's choice to be vocal about her sexuality. All of a sudden it's like, oh, that's not ladylike, that's not this, that's not that. They know all it's not, but guess what? I know what it is. I know that I am like living the best life, enjoying the best life, and pretty much getting all my, zen.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that it is, like I said earlier, it's just sad that women even try to team up with men to shame other women for being free, especially sexually.
Agreed. Agreed. And I really feel like women, it's really, and I definitely never want to be on the side of women against men.
Nah.
I really support men. I really support black men specifically because I really feel like society looks at black men as threats to humanity, and therefore, why would I do the same? I need to uplift my black man around me all the time, and this does not mean that I don't support them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, but yeah, th- this is
Um,
this is
so
definitely
Anthony said
something
freedom.
that men need to
Yes,
embrace too, because they definitely tend to
absolutely.
feel threatened by women who are empowered. This is considered being an empowered woman, and
Exactly.
it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But
So we did ask a question, Sky, and I think before we leave, we each have to answer the question. Sisters, own your sexual desires. So, what are your sexual desires?
my sexual desires are whatever the F I want to do and with whom and how. Um, I tend to be more interested in cultivating deep, emotional, intimate relationships, ships, whatever is sailing at the moment. I actually the sexual desires are definitely intertwined to relationship. I'm not um trying to just, I mean, I can make a phone call now, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure we all can, but
Right.
I rather long-term relationship involvement for sexual, like I want it to be connected. That works for me better. I feel more comfortable. I like getting to know somebody in that way long term. So I'm not a party animal, I'm not wild. I think that boat jumped over me because I was a young mom. I had my first child like 1 week after I turned 21. So party was over. I ain't never
Mhm.
party. I never was dancing on the bar tops, none of that stuff. I see it and I never did it. I never got into drinking, smoke. I never got into any of the party wild shit. I've just been a mom for so long, and that's been my life. So I do value um freedom. That's just going to be the theme all day, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's whatever it looks like to me. So yeah.
I mean, for me, I enjoy a wide spectrum when it comes to sexual diversity. Um, Obviously, the kind of sex you have with somebody that you have a deep romantic connection with is probably not the same. I'm not saying the other sex is not good, the casual sex is not good. I've had great casual sex, but each connection is different, right? Um, that's why we are in polyamory,
Hmm.
because of the diversity, and that's what I enjoy because I have great relationships, and every connection that I have, whether it's a sexual connection or a romantic connection, each of those are very important in my life, and I value those people as much. It's just it's different. So I definitely tend to cultivate long-term relationships as well as enjoying Johnny over here. We're not necessarily romantically involved, but we are connected. We like I must be able to have some kind of attraction intellectually, physically, some kind of attraction to you, and we also must connect. I honestly am not the type of person who can go into a club and just be like, all right, I'm doing this person. Unfortunately, I would love to be that person, at least once,
You over
but
there.
I know, let's go. But
You
I
know,
feel like we need a conversation, see if you even the slightest bit of intelligent or even emotionally stable for me to even start to wrap my mind around being sexual with you. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying?
mhm.
So, but I value all kinds of connections,
I
casual
know,
sex, relationship sex, all of it. I want all of it.
yeah. I know from my experience with being polyamorous because I've been when I before I was polyamorous actively because I feel like I was mentally before I was physically, but
Hmm.
actively, which was about 6 years ago since I broke up with my husband, I've been dating like the multitude. And one thing that I realize is I can try to be like sexually attracted to somebody, but if they're not good, that's going to be like that's it. I don't even we could just stop right now because
Absolutely, because
I
it would be a waste of
cannot
our time.
imagine I cannot imagine women that I've talked to that stay involved with somebody who's not
Right.
given the give, and I'm just like,
So
yeah.
here's what I have to say about it, though, because like for me, hold on,
I'm
let me
just
read
like,
those
it's
two
gonna be
comments first before
gonna
I
be a
jump
no
into
for
this.
me.
I know. Let me read these two. Mark Jean Pierre brought up the definition of polyamory. Thank you so much, Mark. Polyamory from ancient Greek. Let me show it so they can read on screen. um, many, and Latin love is the practice of or desire for a romantic relationship with more than one partner. Thank you, Mark. And don't forget the spiritual connection. Yes, absolutely. There's a connection that you develop with somebody. But what was I saying? See, my little mind just goes wandering and then now I forget. Oh, yes, what I was going to say about good or bad sex. So I find that most people now, I have come across, mm, I want to say maybe just one, maybe two people who were just not good. Like, no skills, not good, no size. Like, they had nothing for me. I'm sure they can make somebody else happy, but I always feel like everybody has something to offer, right? You may not have the A+ inch, but if your mouth is a human vibrator, we definitely can have a conversation, you know, um, or vice versa. So I feel like most people and everybody kind of works on something. I feel like there are some things I am definitely great at, and I'm pretty sure my partners would probably find somebody else who they think actually does that even better. But at the end of the day, most people bring something to the table that's maybe decent enough. Now, I'm not looking for mind blowing sex from every single partner because every single partner is going to be different in bed. So I enjoy their forte. So whatever they are great at, I am definitely going to have them focus on that. Let's have some fun, and that's pretty much it. But there, I have come across people that got none, like zip, nada, yoda, like nothing, and it's always like deuces. Once, that's it. One hit wonder.
Well, um, one thing I can say for me is, and once again, this is my why polyamory is great is great for all people is like I actually have romantic relationships that are asexual.
Yes.
And that is a beautiful piece to add to my life because, you know, like and most guys, and I want to say I'll just say most guys because I could say something else, but I don't want to be offensive.
Well, when
most
sex is
guys in
not
general,
expected.
most guys in general will look at a couple and just in their mind they're like, oh well, they must be involved intimately.
Right.
That's what they see just because they
No, don't
see
say intimately sexually.
that part.
Yes.
So they just, they just can't for the life of them imagine that y'all spend so much time with each other, y'all always around, just the energy, the vibe, the communication, the touchy, the everything looks like y'all are involved, and they're not. We're not.
Exactly.
We're involved in romantic ways, but and people can't separate that. And to
Exactly.
me, how, like, I feel like, you want me to tell you what I feel monogamy really is? I feel like monogamy is like, instead of evolving, monogamy is devolving. It's the dumbing down of who we are. When Marc Jean, I don't know how to say it in French,
Workshop, yeah.
Marc Jean Pierre.
Good.
It always sounds better.
Oh, she has an accent. Hit
Oh, yes,
her up.
darling. So, yes, the spiritual connection is like when you start really like being able to connect with somebody, period. Like I've had relationships with people that the sex wasn't really that good, but the truth of the matter is the relationship part, the connection was so amazing that was so minor, I could live with it and we could work
Exactly.
on it. You
Yes.
get what I'm saying?
At that
Like,
point, sex becomes cherry on top.
right. So I rather, and when you really look at the scheme of life, wouldn't you rather have these amazing connections that blow you away than than what's the dude, Mandingo? You know what I'm saying? Like, nope.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, I don't need Mandingo knocking on my door for just that,
Right.
when I could have these amazing relationships that fulfill me to my soul, to my cellular level, and sex becomes even more fun and amazing and what have you. And so, yeah, I just wish, like, to me, one of my goals for this blog post, video, podcast, whatever we're doing, I just hope that somebody out there like is really living their best life, specifically women, because women in our world have gotten the shit end of the stick. And religion and marriage and all the other bullshit social structures that have been created have taken joy out of being alive. You know what I mean? For women.
Right.
And
Right.
that's why I think, you can still have your man, you can still have your children, you can still have your families, you can still have monogamy a lot of what monogamy offers, and then some. So why
Exactly.
would you live? Why would you not want to live in abundance?
Exactly. That's the only way for me. And and a tantric message will complete the circle. Yes, Mark. Yes, absolutely. Always a
That.
plus.
So,
Yes, yes.
that's the
But yeah, so I mean, my hope is that we can encourage many people, especially many women, into living in their own truth, their own light, and be happy. Be
Mhm.
happy because at the end of the day, we have a very limited time on earth. We don't even know
Mhm.
when we're going. So I would love to just be happy no matter what that looks like for you. Right. I
Mhm.
want to be happy truly for me, happy, truly happy for me, not based on what somebody else thinks my happiness should be. I want
Mhm.
to be happy doing the things I do, loving the people I want to love, and living life the way I want to live.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all for tuning in tonight.
Again. We are the Poly
Remember,
Pimps. We are the
yes,
Poly Pimps.
remember, we actually have our official YouTube page. Thank you to Sky. She's been working hard behind the scenes to make this happen because I am definitely not techie.
It's just little by little. The
Yeah,
good thing is we're just doing this as we can.
yes,
And you
because life
know,
is crazy as well.
when
Uh,
when we become syndicated and we unplug from everything else and quit all our
yes.
other jobs and we're on the road like Oprah,
Yes.
then we'll have the
We'll
team.
bring this to you all the time.
Right,
But
we'll have the team.
remember to follow and subscribe
And
to
share.
and share, please,
Oh,
the
I
Poly
be,
Pimps
if you got this because you got a text message from me, you're supposed to send that text message out to everybody
to
else.
somebody else.
Yeah.
But we are the Poly Pimps, so you'll find us on YouTube as the Poly Pimps, and you'll find us on Facebook, right, Sky? No, not yet.
Yeah, no, I'm on Facebook. I'm on
Okay,
Facebook,
the
but
Poly Pimps
do we
on
have a Facebook
Facebook.
page yet, or is that we
Yeah,
need to
that's
do
what I
that?
was asking. I don't think so.
No, I didn't do that
So,
yet. Okay,
and
coming soon.
yes, Sky Davis for now. And then you know me, guys, Air Meet Me to Charles, and also the Poly Haitian Hardy on Instagram. So make sure you follow us so you can stay updated, and we'll see you back in 2 weeks. If you have any topics you would like for us to discuss, any
Here,
questions,
I'll put
we
our
are here
email.
for you. Yes, the
Poly.
polypimps at gmail.com. And like we said, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's very new. Help us grow. We would love for you to support us. This is a lack of education about asexuality and spirituality. These ladies are living only 10% of their sexual life. Say it again, Mark. Say it again. Preach, preach. But
Yeah.
unfortunately,
We
we
need
are.
to get we need to get Mark Jean Pierre on.
Mhm.
You need to be on the show. Thank you.
Right.
Yes. Let's set that up.
Yes.
Sound like you have something to talk about.
Lots to talk about.
Yes. Let's come on and
um,
let's have a conversation about what's going on out here.
all right. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we shall see you in 2 weeks. Have a good
Peace.
night. Bye bye.